I think I'll give poor Scott, a high school graduate, a chance. I'm about to throw a super tough question his way. If he solves it, I'll give him $100,000. What? What is she even saying? Back in high school, she was the girl I admired, the one who was kind to a lonely guy like me who didn't have any friends. I went to the reunion just to thank her for that kindness. But she was nothing like she used to be, and she hit me with this outrageous offer. As I stared at her in shock, she leaned in close, grinning, and whispered in my ear. Bet you've never seen $100,000 in your life, huh? A rich girl like me is offering to give you some charity. Aren't I the sweetest? I felt a surge of frustration. The girl I'd looked up to all this time turned out to be like this. I could just let it go, but even I have my limits. It got under my skin. If that's how you want it, then fine. I'll take you up on that. Fine. So if I solve it, you'll give me $100,000, right? Oh, so you're actually up for it? Just what I'd expect from a poor guy. Gotta say, I like that scrappy spirit. Alright, just watch me. I'll solve this problem in no time. Let me show you a comeback like you've never seen. My name is Scott Sullivan. I work for a major IT company. These days, I make enough to live comfortably, but I grew up in a single-parent household after my father died in an accident. And we struggled financially. To top it off, maybe because of my personality, I had a hard time fitting in and spent a lonely school life. I'm not good at reading social cues or handling emotions. I get yes and no, but I just don't get those typical ambiguous expressions people use in Japan. And even if I see someone struggling or looking down, I get lost on how to comfort them, so I just stay quiet, which makes me come off as cold. Because of that, people always kept a certain distance from me. The girls, especially, would laugh and give me nicknames like Iron Mask or Living Doll, which only made me more self-conscious around them. One of the hardest parts for me was forming groups during PE or school events. Every time Ms. Andrews would say, "Alright, everyone, get into groups of 4 with whoever you want," it was like a cue to be singled out. Groups would form one after another, and no one ever invited me to join them. Ah, Scott, left out again? Anyone willing to let Scott join? Ms. Andrews would call out. But most people just pretended not to hear. If it was a group of 5, sometimes Ms. Andrews's voice would reluctantly get me in, but even then, the other 4 would chat, leaving me out entirely. Those lonely school years continued until I got to high school, where I met a real savior. Her name was Sarah. During a school trip, she saw me left out again and actually asked me to join her group. What? Sarah, is this your charity work again? Her friend Emily said to her. Come on, it's sad, right? It's a school trip, shouldn't it be fun? Alright, if you insist, Sarah, then fine. Sarah's usual group was a trio, so adding me in made a perfect 4, but from then on, she always included me whenever she could. Thanks to her, I slowly started to be able to talk to others. Sarah, as it turned out, was the daughter of a company president. Not only was she beautiful, but her refined manners made her the center of admiration in our class. The mere fact that someone like her would reach out to me was enough to make me feel elated. During high school, I quietly harbored feelings for her, but in the end, I couldn't bring myself to confess. And we graduated without anything happening. While most of my classmates went on to college, I took a job at a small company to help support my mother. I remember the big stir in our class when everyone found out that Sarah had gotten into Tokyo University. I sighed, knowing she was truly out of reach, a rare gem. Since then, I've had my share of ups and downs and now work at a different company. My income is worlds apart from what it was back then, enough that I can finally make things easier for my mother, who used to juggle multiple part-time jobs. Still, I haven't really changed when it comes to dealing with women. Even today, a woman I work with scolded me to get a move on. I've been telling you all morning that there's a meeting this afternoon, haven't I? If you're this behind on your tasks, you won't even have time to grab lunch. Sorry. I'll just have a sandwich in the car or something. Oh, that's terrible for your health. You can't keep doing that. Alright, I'll try to be better from now on. Seriously. If I didn't push you, nothing would ever get done. The one nagging me from behind was Michelle. She's a beautiful employee who graduated from a well-known private university. At my current job, the schedule is packed down to the minute. I'm the type who forgets the time when I'm focused, so without her support, I can't seem to manage my tasks well. One day, in the midst of my hectic routine, I received a postcard. It was an invitation to my high school reunion. To be honest, I didn't have any friends to go with, nor did I really have the time. But a part of me wanted to see Sarah again and thank her for what she did back then. Before I realized it, I'd already checked attending and mailed back the reply. By the way, what's this evening appointment? I thought we had a meeting with another company that day. Oh, that? It's my high school reunion. I thought I'd finally give it a shot and go. The venue's close enough that I can make it right after our meeting. Wait, didn't you say before that you didn't have any close friends from high school? Yeah, that's true. But there was someone who helped me out back then. I thought maybe now I could finally thank her. Oh, is that so? Michelle seemed a bit displeased, though I couldn't quite figure out why. Maybe she was annoyed that I was taking time off for a reunion while everyone else was swamped with work. Hey, why don't you leave early that day and relax a bit too? Go have a drink with friends or something. Her expression immediately soured even more. No, thanks. I'll be here handling all the piled-up paperwork. As diligent as ever, I see. That's all I've got going for me. Besides, don't forget we have an early flight the next morning. Oh, right. Phew. Absolutely no after-parties, alright? We're heading out at 3 a.m. Yeah, I got it. With a 3 a.m. departure, staying out drinking all night isn't an option. I finally started to understand why she seemed so irritated. A few days later, I headed to the reunion venue. It was held in a ballroom at a downtown hotel, filled with quite a crowd in a dazzling setting. There was karaoke, bingo, and some sort of game set up on a whiteboard with geometric magnetic tiles attached. In the center of the room was a particularly glamorous group, and right at the heart of it was the woman I'd come to see. Wait, who's that? As I walked in a bit late, someone whispered, glancing at me, but nobody seemed to recognize who I was. Back in high school, I wore second-hand uniforms, but today, I was dressed sharply in a suit. My build was different too, having gained some well-toned muscle over the years. So it wouldn't be easy for them to connect the dots to the guy I was back then. I walked over to the lively group surrounding Sarah and called her name. It's been a long time, Sarah, right? Yes, I am Sarah, but who are you? She tilted her head slightly, looking at me with a hint of blush, unable to recognize me at first glance. It's Scott, from our class. Thanks for always talking to me back then. What? You're Scott? As I thanked her, the woman beside Sarah gave me a suspicious look. That was probably Emily, the same friend who'd always been by Sarah's side in high school. Unlike Sarah, she'd been bluntly unpleasant to me, and, to be honest, I didn't like her at all. Well. Seems that gloomy aura from back then is gone. But in the end, you're still just Scott, aren't you? How brave of you to come to a reunion when you don't even have any friends. Hey, Emily, that's a bit harsh. Sarah stepped in to soften Emily's jab. But something felt off. She wasn't the same Sarah I remembered. And her next words confirmed my suspicion. You know, it'd be a bit of a problem if you got the wrong idea. The only reason I bothered to talk to you in high school was because you looked so pitiful being all alone. And I thought being nice might help with my college recommendation. I figured it couldn't hurt to stay in the teacher's good graces. Thanks to that, I got into Tokyo University and became Miss Campus, and now I'm next in line at my dad's company. I don't have to worry about appearances anymore. Being liked by a poor, unremarkable guy? No thanks. You get what I'm saying? Sarah, you're being way too honest. The second they realized I was Scott, the people around us started looking at me with a sneer. Look, I'm not here because I want anything from you, Sarah. I just wanted to thank you. Oh, is that right? I guess you finally understand your place now that you're all grown up. Oh wow, Sarah, you're really letting it all out. Their snickering echoed around us. But hey, isn't that watch Scott's wearing super expensive? One of her friends made a show of noticing my watch. Look at Scott, a high school graduate with a fancy watch? Must be a fake. It's hilarious how flashy poor people try to look. I was ready to just ignore them and move on. Then Sarah suddenly grabbed my arm. Hey, what are you? Just a little bored, that's all. Come on, humor me for a bit. Sarah picked up the microphone in the hall and made an announcement that was beyond humiliating. Everyone, we have Scott here, a high school grad. Remember him? He was pretty invisible back then, but do you remember? The crowd's attention instantly turned toward us. Scott here is wearing a fake luxury watch just to impress everyone at the reunion. The laughter began almost immediately. No way. How embarrassing. This was a nightmare. I wanted to disappear. And for our poor Scott, I think I'll give him a chance. I'm about to give him a super difficult problem. If he can solve it, I'll give him $100,000. Wait, what? What is she talking about? As I stared at her in stunned silence, she leaned in with a smug grin and whispered in my ear. You've probably never seen that much money in your life, have you? A rich girl like me is offering to help you out. Aren't I just the sweetest? I was furious. The girl I had admired all this time turned out to be like this. I could just let it go, but even I have my limits. It got under my skin. If that's how you want it, then fine. I'll take you up on that. All right. So if I solve it, you'll give me $100,000, right? Oh, you're actually up for it? That's what I like about poor folks, their scrappy spirit. The crowd was buzzing with excitement. Oh, go for it, Scott. Just the other day, a friend mentioned an incredibly hard problem. They said anyone who solved it would be a genius. Even someone from Tokyo University couldn't solve it right away. Think you can handle it? She began writing the problem on the whiteboard. It was a question from the 1990 International Mathematical Olympiad held in China. That's what they call the Master Demon problem. This is way too hard. Looks like you're in big trouble, Scott. Amid the mocking laughter, I respond with a straight face. This is all you've got? The answer is. In front of everyone watching, I breezed through the problem without even breaking a sweat, solving it in less than a minute. No way. I can't believe it. At first, people around me are stunned, not comprehending what just happened, but then they burst into applause and cheers. Unbelievable, Scott. This guy just won $100,000. As the crowd's mocking turns into cheers, Sarah shoots an angry glare at me. Just because you managed to solve one problem, don't start acting all high and mighty. A lowly high school graduate like you will always be just that, a poor nobody. I didn't mean to upset her, but it's already out of control. As I'm pondering what to do, out of nowhere, I hear Michelle's voice behind me. President Sullivan, it's about time. If we don't get you to the hotel soon, it might affect tomorrow's work. Oh, Michelle. Seeing her here, someone who wasn't supposed to be in this crowd, gives me an odd sense of relief. The people around us, hearing her address me, are now buzzing with confusion. Wait. President? Who is that beautiful woman? Also, As it seems someone here has been quite disrespectful to our company's president, I'd like to clarify. Mr. Sullivan graduated from Cambridge, and our company ranks among the top in the nation. He's neither a high school grad nor poor, for the record. Now, shall we, Mr. Sullivan? Yeah, let's go. As Michelle and I start to exit the room, gasps and murmurs ripple through the crowd. Wait. I know her. She's the famous assistant from SKT System Solutions. So, does that mean Scott is the president of that company? Come to think of it, I think I've seen him in a business magazine before. The truth is, I am the president of one of the top IT companies in the country, SKT System Solutions. I wasn't exactly a bad student back in school. I just didn't like drawing attention, so I kept my grades average on purpose. Since childhood, I've had a photographic memory, the ability to retain images exactly as I saw them. This unique memory skill, often called eidetic memory. Thanks to that, there was a time when I was celebrated as a genius. People had high hopes, thinking I would one day be a pillar of the nation, and I was even appointed class representative in elementary school. However, a class rep needs to lead, listening to others and uniting the class. Not understanding others' thoughts well, I often said the wrong things, quickly becoming isolated. The adults who had pinned their hopes on me grew disappointed, labeling me as lacking in cooperation. I'll never forget the cold, disheartened look my teacher gave me then. From that point on, I kept my academic abilities hidden and avoided standing out. Throughout my school years, I was seen as a failure, lacking intelligence, social skills, and money. But my uncle, seeing my potential, encouraged me to attend a university overseas. He found scholarships and mutual aid programs to help me attend Cambridge University. So it's no surprise that my old classmates, who only knew me from high school, scoffed at my name. They never would have guessed that I would become a high-achieving, high-earning president. I hadn't planned to reveal this side of me, but at this point, there's no helping it. Michelle, how long will it take to get from here to the hotel? I've reserved a hotel close to the airport, so we can get room service for dinner. Your flight is at 5:20 a.m. As we prepare to leave, the women who were keeping their distance suddenly light up and start chatting me up. Wait, are you really a president, Scott? If you just told us that sooner. Exactly. We're classmates, don't be so reserved. As I stand there, baffled by their sudden change in attitude, Sarah approaches with a different, friendly smile. So, Scott, you're the president of SKT System Solutions now? No wonder you solved that problem so easily. Say, how about we grab a bite together after this? It'd be nice to reminisce about old times. Just as I'm left speechless by her about-face, Michelle's voice sounds again from behind me. Excuse me, but there's no way Mr. Sullivan, a renowned young mind of Japan, would waste his time with someone who mocked him. You mentioned giving $100,000 if he solved the problem, but our company's annual revenue is in the tens of billions of dollars. Trying to lure Mr. Sullivan with such a small amount is pointless. The tens of billions of dollars. As Sarah and her friends stand speechless, Michelle takes my hand and confidently leads me through the hall. And just like that, I turned the reunion I'd looked forward to into a grand showcase of karma before leaving the venue. In the car on the way back, Michelle bows her head apologetically. Mr. Sullivan, I apologize for speaking out of turn and being so rude to your friends. Don't worry about it. But you were keeping your current position a secret, weren't you? Yeah, but it's all right. You were just trying to help me, right? I actually appreciated it. You did? Then, I'm glad. Hearing that, her cheeks turn red all the way to her ears. And seeing her like that, I find her even more endearing. A few months later, while out in the suburbs on personal business, I catch sight of a woman who looks remarkably like Sarah. Her posture looks weary, a stark contrast to the confident presence she once had. Is that Sarah? I call out, and she turns around, startled. It's undeniably Sarah. Scott, are you okay? You look exhausted. When I speak my mind, she gives a bitter laugh. You probably already know, right? Our company got delisted recently. I'm sure you're here to laugh at the one who insulted you. Really? I'm sorry, I'm clueless about stocks. What? So you didn't come over just to mock me? Me? Why would I? I answer honestly, and she chuckles softly, looking amused. Come to think of it, you were always like that. You've never been one to sneer at others or say anything two-faced. Sorry, I guess subtlety isn't my strength. There's no need to apologize. That's actually something to be proud of. Maybe. But it's true that back in school, you were my motivation. I genuinely liked you, so when I heard you preferred intelligent guys, I studied my heart out. That's how I ended up going to Cambridge. In a way, I owe who I am now to you. You do? So, regardless of what happens to your company, your worth doesn't change. I understand things are tough right now. But I don't think giving up is the answer. Don't you agree? You're right, but I've already been working so hard. And while you might be concerned about being listed, our company is highly profitable as a private unicorn. Sure, listing brings credibility. But it also comes with restrictions. No listing costs, fewer risks of acquisition. It's a matter of management style. You're smart, Sarah. Why not build the company you really want? You're right. Born as a president's daughter, I've always lived trying to meet others' expectations. But maybe it's time I try my own approach. Thank you. I'm going to give it a shot. Not long after, I hear she launched a new jewelry brand. Previously, they focused on high-end pieces, but now she's also offering affordable items for everyday use. Her brand has garnered significant attention for its successful new market strategy. So, I decide to place an order with her brand for my company's commemorative gifts. Honestly, it's my way of giving back to her for her hard work. She soon visits our office. Mr. Sullivan, thank you so much for choosing our company. No problem. I'd heard you were doing well after all your hard work, so consider this both a congratulations and an order. Still, it means so much to me. If you're free, would you join me for dinner after our meeting? As she quickly invites me, Michelle just as quickly interjects. Unfortunately, Mr. Sullivan has a dinner meeting scheduled with a client tonight. Oh, well, what about tomorrow or the day after? No, I'm afraid his schedule is fully booked for the next 3 months. Then after that? No, his schedule will remain fully booked indefinitely. Watching their back and forth, I can barely hold back my laughter. I can't help but chuckle, and Sarah looks visibly relieved. I'm glad to see you smiling like this, Scott. What are you talking about? Mr. Sullivan is always smiling. Yes, well, that must be because you're by his side. That puts my mind at ease. Beautiful assistant, take good care of him, okay? Support him well. Of course. Even without you saying so, I'll be here to support him for life. Well, that's good to hear. I'll take my leave now. Mr. Sullivan, I look forward to working with you in the future. Sarah seemed different somehow, as though she'd shed her old self. Curious, I couldn't help but ask her. Sarah, you seem different. Did something shift for you? Oh, you noticed? Actually, when my father's company was in trouble, all those people who'd been hanging around me just vanished. I thought they were my close friends, so it was a shock. But, deep down, I realized that's just how things are. All the effort I put into being liked. It was only worth so much, and just like that, it was gone. So I decided to stop caring about what others think and just live true to myself. I see. I think that's great. The way you are now, Sarah, you seem more alive than ever. Thank you. Scott, you said I saved you back in high school, but this time, it's the other way around. You saved me. Truly, thank you. No, it was all you. You're the one who worked hard to overcome it. Heh, you haven't changed, Scott. With a smile, Sarah left the office. Since then, we've remained good friends, talking regularly. Back in school, I was at my lowest point. But because of that time, I can now fully appreciate where I am. For anyone feeling like they're at rock bottom, I hope you can take a step back and see the big picture. One day, you'll be able to look back and laugh, thinking, yeah, I went through that too.